G'day, Snappers, and welcome to the Sunday Snap, coming to you through the SC Ballers feed. This is the podcast where we give our snap reactions to the NRL SuperCoach round that was. My name's Jono, coach of the Hearts-Beans, and with me to talk about all the big news coming out of round 22 is the coach of Tubes Pods. Tubes, how you going?
Jono, good. Feeling fresh coming into tonight. I know you're not an avid NFL supporter, but the season's almost upon us, and so I thought I've gone out and bought a brand new quarter zip sweater, which is made famous by Eli and Peyton Manning.
Of course.
Who you know well.
I've heard of them, if that counts.
So anyway, so I'm rocking the quarter zip sweater this evening, so I'm feeling pretty good.
I had a feeling that was a tribute to that when you put that on pre-pod. Very good. Tubes, how's your SuperCoach round gone?
Well, I can't complain too much. I do like to complain each week on the Sunday Snap. I've had a 12:30 something. Thanks mostly to Reece Walsh and VCing and looping him. I then did have a few poor decisions with some low scores with a lot of that carnage in the wet, particularly that Manly Roosters game. I was out at the footy with my son in Melbourne at the Collingwood game, and I didn't see how wet it was. And so I played Lehigh. I had DCE as my auto emergency, and then I had Garrick. So, yeah, too bad they can't all drop out under the 18th man scenario. So, yeah, pulled my score back a little bit to 12:30.
Yeah, nice. Well, I also was got lucky with Reece Boy Walsh, so I got a 12:64. It's not too dissimilar to YouTube's. It felt like on Friday night that this round was going to be absolutely massive, and I was on top of the world. And then it's ended up being, I'd say, still above par. I'd say we're both probably slightly above par, but it just doesn't feel like one of those big moving weeks. I'm not seeing too many people above the 1300s, not too many below 1200. Feels like it's going to be above par, but not significantly.
Well, yeah, I was thinking the same. And on Friday night, because we were playing each other in a head-to-head, and I looked at, we both looped as of Friday night, 10 o'clock, I think, because we both
I couldn't loop quick enough.
Yeah, and you were projecting mid-1500s at that point, and I was projecting high 1400s, and I'm thinking, oh, geez, we're in for a huge one.
Yeah.
And then I had Brimson. We'll go through all of them, but I had Brimson and JC in that 3 o'clock game, and all of a sudden I'm going, geez, I'm really on liftoff here. And the last 35 hours since then I've crashed back down to earth.
Yeah, didn't stay as strong. But Tubes, you're looking all right for the Run Home Challenge now. The Run Home Challenge, obviously through baller.live, BALLR.live. It's going well. We can't give an update right now, but that'll be ready to go. The boys will post it on socials tomorrow. Tubes, I'd say at the moment we have a bit of a bet amongst the baller contributors. Lowest score in the Run Home Challenge has to grow a goatee. You were probably favourite to be wearing a goatee coming into the Run Home Challenge. I know you didn't have yourself as favourite to lose, but I think in the market you were favourite to come last. How are you feeling about the goatee now?
Look, I'm feeling pretty good about my Run Home Challenge. I think, funnily enough, I think the best of the ballers this week was Danny Boy, the Casabonitas. He had a 12.80. But I think he's very short price to get beat in the Run Home Challenge. I think he's only got 2 trades left. He's a Herbie owner. I don't know. I think he might own someone else. I think he's going to be out of trades by the end of next week. And, geez, it looks like there's carnage on the horizon, just like there was this weekend.
It's tough. Yeah, like you mentioned, Herbie. We'll talk about Isaiah Yeo later on in the pod as well. He's under an injury cloud. Just every week it feels like another keeper is going down. And Tubes, I don't have enough trades left for how many weeks there are in this SuperCoach season if that's going to continue. So it is getting a little bit dire.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked about it last Tuesday. I got itchy fingers on Friday, I tell you. But I ended up making no trades this week. And
wow.
So it does feel pretty sweet to get a decent score without making a trade and just still having 6 sitting in the bank ready to go for the rest of the run home.
Yeah, I think you're actually pretty well positioned, I'd say, Tubes. Look, while we're talking about baller.live, just a reminder for people to make sure they get on there, check out the player statistics. There's some great stuff in there. It's got all the ownership percentages, VC percentages, captain percentages, base plus power, which you can filter across for the whole season. You can filter across 3-round average, 5-round average. Tubes, I found it really helpful this week when I was looking at those projections to see for a couple of my close calls who I was going to sit. I went through the projections, decided to sit Beau Fermor this week, who wasn't projected to score huge against Penrith. And that worked out pretty well. We got a 60. There were other people in my team who went worse, but that's the thing. They're projections. They're not guarantees. And he was projected lower than usual, and he didn't have a huge score. So I find that kind of stuff really handy. Head-to-head finals start next week, and I think it's going to be a great tool to try and get the edge on your opponents in that space.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. No update yet about what's happening with the NRL Finals SuperCoach. So, but did get some confirmation from the head honcho that we will be doing something at Ball for it. But yeah, waiting to get some details. But yeah, exciting times, and the website's looking good. It had a refresh even just last week, so they're just adding to it each and every week, and I think there's more to come. I don't want to speak out of turn, so I'm not going to say, but I'm pretty sure there's more to come in the short term as well. So it's exciting times.
Yeah, just because the Supercoach season's winding down, Baller absolutely not winding down. Geez, speaking of head-to-head finals, I just had a look. You and I, you mentioned we played each other in a cash league this week, and I did just get you in the end. You have dropped out of the B semis in our cash league, so you are now ineligible to win any more money this year in our cash league. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I've given up on the season. Even my draft team has gone horrible. I haven't made any finals there either. Like, I've just had an absolute horrible season. But, we live, we learn, and I finish strong. SuperCoach final, NRL Finals, SuperCoach could be my play.
Well, Tubes, while I got you a little bit down in the dumps, let's talk about our rage trades. Are you little? And you are going controversial this week.
Yeah, it's ragey, I tell you. I don't know if you saw, but when we talk about it in a bit, the Broncos put on 60 points against the reserve grade Bunnies on Friday night.
I unfortunately saw, as a Rabbitohs fan, tough watch.
And
Reece Walsh helped though. I've got to say that made it a little bit easier.
My pod, he's now a pod, and is Young GI. Young GI, he had been averaging something in the, I think it was 80s and 90s pre-Origin selection. We really enjoyed seeing him make Queensland Origin, performed well in Queensland Origin. But yeah, a little bit disappointing for my SuperCoach side then. He only had 49 on the weekend, and that did include some attacking stats. He busted through the line and just couldn't find drawing the fullback to set up a try assist.
Yeah,
he just, I don't know what it is. He for whatever reason, like he just doesn't look to be his barnstorming self that he was a little bit earlier in the season. I was thinking maybe to get to his position, he's had a massive preseason. He's then had a massive start to the year. He's then ended up making Origin and done the Origin camp. Like, is he just starting to wear out a little bit?
I reckon you got to stay strong, Tubes. Your man, and for those who are maybe newer listeners to Baller, Young GI is Gamut Shibasaki for the Broncos, who Tubes called in round one this year, Young GI. We all laughed at him, and it actually, you kind of had the last laugh for the most part. But he has
not the young part, but certainly, yeah, he's looked good.
He's had a great year, better than anyone could have ever, better than what probably he himself could have dreamed of. Tubes, it has been disappointing, but 49, okay, everyone else in the back line, and there are 7 players in the back line. The other 6 went 87 or better. He's the only one who's gone sub 80. It is disappointing, and since coming back from Origin, like often guys go to another level when they come back from Origin because they get that huge confidence boost. They play this high-speed Origin game that regular footy seems kind of slow and normal to them when they come back. He has had kind of 3 now sub-50 scores post-Origin. He went 116 against the Warriors the week before Origin. And, 3 sub-50 scores. It is a little bit disappointing. Surely you can't rage trade him, though.
And I was talking him up as a buy before then for people who didn't know.
Yeah.
He's played, their run has been the Titans into the Eels into the Bunnies.
Can't get easier.
Can't get easy. He's gone 32, 47, 49. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit ragey. I'll probably calm down. It's probably not worth the trade, but I'm looking at him.
Yeah, fair enough. It's unusual for young GI to be talked about in a negative light on this show, but there you go. Tubes, my rage trade for this week. Oh, there it is. There's the shirt for the YouTube watchers. Not wearing it tonight. Not with your NFL shirt that I don't understand on. Don't throw it away.
That was a bit aggressive.
I know.
I regret that. I'm sorry. That I was getting into the segment. I wish I did not throw that shirt away. I love YGI.
Especially it's a rub in for me. I don't even have one. And Matt sent a merch pack during the week, which hasn't arrived. The post doesn't usually take so long, but it hasn't arrived yet. And no young GI shirt included. He forgot it. So I still don't have one. Anyway, when I get mine, I'll treat it nicer than you just did that one. My rage trade this week, Tubes, is also very ragey. I know I'm not going to trade this guy, but it's Viliami Kikau, who had 27 pre-updates. It is now 3 of his last 4 games. He's gone sub 50. The 1 week that he did go big Tuesday, went 90 plus, was against the Seagulls. I sat him that week for a VC loop. So the 1 week he has gone well, I didn't include him in my team. So I'm just raging about Kikau at the moment. He didn't have a great game today. No one in the Dogs really did, but he wasn't impressive. He threw a couple of silly offloads in the wet that didn't quite stick. He just hasn't been the buy that I thought he was going to, Tubes. The whole time when I looked at buying him, the base was outstanding. He was getting these big left edge sweeps. And since I've got him, I've got a little buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I mean, he looked very good last week. I think we're going to talk about games. You pretty much have to throw out the second half of the round this week. That wet weather in Sydney was just absolute carnage. And no different today in the Dogs Tigers game. Yeah.
Like you said with young GI, it's raging. I'm annoyed. And I'm going to continue I think, to play him week in, week out. The second row full position is also so weak. There's no one else that I'm like out there going like, oh, I wish I had this guy instead of him. So I guess I'll just stick with it and hope it comes good. Tubes, let's get into the actual round review. The first game was the Eels versus the Storm.
Can I just ask one thing before we move on to that? Did you and I end up having some type of stake bet on Preston v Kikau for the run home?
Thankfully we didn't. I said to you that because there was a watch long you were maybe going to be on that you didn't end up being on. And I said to you, if you were on that watch long, I was going to offer you the bet, but fortunately for me, it never happened.
Yeah, okay.
And would it be that far apart, do you think, as Preston?
It wouldn't be that far apart, but no. Preston would be in front.
Yeah, he would be, but not by heaps. Eels versus Storm. This was the game that Matty and the boys from the Rubdown Pod did their watch long for, which is a lot of good fun on Friday night. The community turned up, which was great. Lots of comments going on. I had a lot of fun watching it. Bit of a bludger of a game, though. Eli Katoa Tubes, bit of a bounce-back game for him. He had 77, yet another try off a kick. It's just kind of par for the course for him. Munster, 72 with 2 assists, the kind of game. Munster's pretty much just kind of been that guy where if you held him, you're happy. If you sold him, you're happy. It hasn't really kind of been a massive positive for either party. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Feels a bit sort of like I've sold him and I haven't been unhappy, but I also know plenty of Munster owners that it's sort of, he's still doing a job for him.
What about Harry Grant, Tubes? He had 52 points with a try assist. And it wasn't a kick assist. It was a proper assist with a line break assist. He only had 3 runs all game, which is not ideal. 19% purchase this week. You've had him for a few weeks now, and obviously you had him for that big score last week. Any concerns at all for Harry?
I mean, there is, because it was the first game without Jerome Hughes, and I was probably expecting to see him be a bit more dominant, which he was when he set up their first. I think it was their first try or the second try, whatever it was.
Second.
It was sort of early on. But again, just a very weird game, 16-10. I can't comment too much. I didn't watch this one on Thursday night closely enough, but a 16-10 scoreline against the Eels on a Thursday night. It feels like a really low-scoring game, like something must have been happening that was out of the ordinary. I think the Storm will still put some scores on, and I think Harry will be involved in those for sure.
Yeah, he looked really dangerous in the first 20, 30 minutes, Harry. I thought he was going to be in for a monster score. He was getting out of dummy half, not necessarily taking hit-ups, but like doing the thing where he gets out and finds people, gets the momentum forward. And then the Storm just started playing really badly, dropping the ball, unforced errors, and Penrith managed to get the momentum back for the majority of the game. So I think he'll come good. Pretty confident.
Yeah, I've just looked it up. Stefano Utokumano was the top point scorer for the Storm in this game.
He had a great game, Stefano.
Yeah, but I'm just, it's a weird game when that happens. Some hasn't gone right. Like this is a aberration. We'll see what happens moving forward.
We got Tubes Ryan Pappenhausen, who I was very, very close to, speaking of itchy fingers, when he was goal kicking in the warm-up. I very much contemplated flipping from Reece Walsh over to Pappy. Very glad I didn't. He had 48, no major attacking stats. He actually lost points this week from goal kicking, -2 all up, and got hooked for Nick Meaney for the kicking mid-game. And Bellamy confirmed afterwards that Meaney will continue to kick. Very disappointing for the 11% who held Pappy through this injury crisis.
Yeah, and I was nearly one of them. I only just traded him last week, I think, or the week before, I can't remember, but I held him for a while. Disappointed. I still think he'll go big, but certainly you can't on the run home, but you can't buy him without the goal kicking. Like that's ship sailed now.
No, I think I agree. He'll still have some big games, but certainly impacts his ceiling, because if Melbourne have a game where they win by 50 points, straight up he's losing 28 points in goals for that week. And he had some big scores at the start of the year when Meaney was the kicker before he got it back when Meaney was hurt. So he's got it in him, but I'm happy not to own. From the Eels perspective, not heaps to talk about, Tubes. Your man, I've put him on the run sheet just for you. Charlie Geimer had 68 points with a try in 80 minutes. Very encouraging for his owners that he held that spot even with Kelma Chaulangi back. Geimer kept the spot, kept his 80-minute role. Again, very happy, can't buy.
Yeah, well done. It's suddenly, I don't know, 68 with a try and a line break and a line break assist. He's not coming into contention of actually making people's 18. But geez, if the injury carnage keeps happening, he could become a very good number for this back end of the year for those that have held him as enough throughout the whole season.
I'll tell you what, I think he's been in friend of the show, Cracker's team the last 2 weeks, I believe, in his 18, and has gone well both weeks. I think one time as an AE, and I think this week he actually picked him. Zach Lomax, Tubes, really disappointing. 41 in base plus power. It's actually his lowest score in a SuperCoach game since round 18 last year. So over a year since Lomax has gone that poorly. Very weird game for Lomax. He had a poor game, and then he just base plus power wasn't good enough to kind of paper over the cracks.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't watch, but it just adds to this weird game. 16-10. He doesn't play that well, but the Eels go well against the Storm. His pedigree is amazing. Like, he'll bounce back.
All right. The second game of the round was the Warriors versus the Dolphins. What a absolute classic finish this was, Tubes. Did you see that live?
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Oh.
And I felt I was definitely cheering the Warriors at that back end, like such a gritty performance. But yeah, too good. The Finns.
Yeah, except for the bad news that you mentioned at the top of the show. Herbie Farnworth, hamstring, gone for the year. 69 points in 18 minutes. He had nearly 50% of SuperCoach's VC'd him. And he got hurt as he was going to set up a try. Like, what a flip. He was going 100 plus, possibly huge, wasn't he?
Well, I think he scored 69 in 18 minutes, and he did it from a line break where he definitely would have set up a try. So he was going to be on 80 points effectively after 18 minutes if he didn't do his hammy there. Devastating for owners, devastating for the Dolphins. Like, I know they've had a tough year with injuries. I think this is their biggest impacted year. I think that they looked lost on the weekend once he was gone, but like, they just lose so much. He's had such a good year attacking wise. But yeah, he's now, what is he, 800K? So no one that owns him has to worry about cash moving forward, or close to 750 or whatever he is. So plenty of centre wing trades to discuss in the upcoming week.
Tubes, on the snap, whenever there's a really big key injury, we like to, as the kind of round review goes through, throw up some options who would be relevant. One who's not on the round review this week is Dane Gagai. Do you think that Herbie to Gagai is the most logical, easy trade to make?
Yeah, I think Gago will be the most purchased player this week. I don't own Herbie. I was
Well played.
not significantly unhappy. I've been saying he's been away all year. Anti-potty the whole season has finally come off.
Injury prone, you were saying.
Yeah, and I knew if he did get injured, be early in the game, so he'd still have a low score.
A low score of 69.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have to sell him, but if I did, Gago would be the 100% one. He's playing fullback. He's goal kicking for the Knights. I know he's now been extended, so he doesn't have the contract going over his head, but he's just looked great the last few weeks before the bye.
Yep. Other Finns players, not too much to talk about. JMK, Jeremy Marshall-King, had 106. I mean, good score. He hasn't played 80 minutes the last couple of weeks, and I think you'd want to see him playing 80 before you'd be tempted to go down that road. And Matt's man, Oren Keeley. I didn't want to mention Oren Keeley, but I kind of feel like I have to. He had 90 points with a try, and I thought he had a really, really good game of footy. Like, best game of his career, from what I've seen of him anyway.
I can't see how they drop him back to the bench with when Fini Fuiaki comes back. He's looked very good for them.
Well, he was starting anyway. It was Lemuelu who was dropped off the bench, and Lemuelu also is looking really good. Like, he's playing good footy too.
But he probably won't get 80 minutes. That'll be moving forward, you would think.
Warriors have a heap of kind of interesting things to talk about. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak had 106 with a double. He was one we spoke about a couple of weeks ago as a pod option who has a nice run home. Tubes, Tane Taupiki is quite interesting. He had 85 with 2 assists. He kind of got elevated into the team. So what happened was Chance played, but he moved to centre this week because I think they were kind of fed up with Kurt Capewell, not Luke Capewell, the former Rabbitoh. Kurt Capewell letting a bunch of tries. He got moved to the back row. So they have a nice run still to come. They got the Dogs next week, but then they go Dragons, Titans, Eels and Manly to finish off the year. They do have Leotawa and Rocco Berry on the horizon. I think round 25 for both of those guys, not too far away. If there was some kind of confirmation that they were going to make this role stick, he'd be a good little pod pickup at 460k. Available at centre wing.
Too much doubt though, because I think last week I had Chance as my ready to explode or Little Black Book, I can't remember, and then I picked him as pod of the week, and Tuapike's ended up playing fullback, and he's played that role nicely. In that more structured attack, he's had 2 assists. I think both of them were to Dallin. So that right sweep when Tuapike's, if he's going to keep playing fullback, I think TWZ could even be a really cheap centre wing option if you're sort of looking for someone as a playable with their run coming up.
Karapani downgrade maybe.
Yep, for sure. I do think Tuapike's a risk. I know you mentioned they're probably fed up and moving Capewell in, but I think Vaymunga, he was named at prop and ended up as a late out, and that moved Niokora up, which, I mean, they have so many different options, so this wouldn't necessarily be it, but then that was what shifted Capewell and then shifted Chance, and they had Tuapike on the bench. So I just think they've got a fair few different options at this time of the year. I wouldn't be picking up Tuapike at 462k, but I could look at DWZ at the price.
What about Roger Tubes, who last week on the show you said he looked a bit old and slow? He had 78 points with no tries or assists, 63 in base plus power, over 40 points from hit-ups. Tubes, he actually hasn't gone below 57 in his last 9 SuperCoach games. 57 is his lowest score. How are you feeling about that old and slow line one week in?
You're aggregating me here, Jono. I don't like it. I did not call him old and slow.
What did you say?
I can't remember, but but the intention was that he is older and he has lost a step. Not that he didn't look good or he didn't have the base, but that, again, what I was commenting on was he doesn't finish as well. He used to get half chances, and with his pace, like most speedy wingers, he would finish those off. Whereas he scored a try last week with a cut in, not by going to the wing and scoring a flashy try like DWZ is, which I'd say has actually been justified with no tries again this week and just doing it all in base.
Tubes, I actually did go back and listen to what you said. I 100% threw old and slow. You did not say that. I want that on the record. I threw that in there as bait to get a reaction. Your words were, he's lost a step.
Yeah.
So, which is actually true.
Aggregation.
Aaron Clark is always relevant to talk about. It's 75 points all in base plus power, 64 minutes. And our man, Leka Halasima, 64 with a try in 80 minutes. Tubes, anything on those two that you wanted to touch upon?
Lecker just keeps getting it done, but surely the try scoring stops at some point, and Clark keeps getting it done without tries. He'll be a popular option this week with Tyrrell May on the bye, and people potentially looking for a back rower, maybe Yo if he's injured or whoever. Clark is obviously an option because you'll be able to play him in your front row forward next week.
The next game is the Broncos versus the Rabbitohs. There are no specific players I want to talk about from the Rabbitohs, but what I do want to talk about is they're just done. Like, it's completely over for the Rabbitohs. I don't know if you saw this, Tubes. They named Peter Mamazellus as their 18th man. He legally couldn't take the field because he was out for concussion. So they did not have enough players to even have an 18th man. And then they picked up more injuries during the game. They have games to come against the Titans next week, which is very exciting if you're a Jaden Campbell owner, or Tubes in your case, an AJ Brimson owner. Then they go against the Eels, then the Dragons, who a lot of people don't own players from, and then they have a bye, then they finish the year against the Roosters. Do you have the Rabbitohs as being that low now that it's just a guaranteed you need to captain or vice captain someone against them every time they run out?
I think 100%, and I think you need to try to target, if you've got the trades, bringing in players like my man Phil Sammy. Could be a very good option this week against.
He got HI8, I think, on the weekend.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But you get what I mean. We've talked. You said Brimson and Campbell, but there might be some other outside backs that you look at from the Titans this week. I spoke to the Podfather on Saturday morning, I think it was, and he made a point to me which I hadn't really thought about.
Can we make this a weekly segment, Tubes? Podfather's points. You had one last week.
Podfather's musings. But the Bunnies they've been decimated by injury, obviously, as you've just gone through. Outside of Jai Arrow, and Ewan Aiken, is there anyone in the Bunnies lineup that would make any other first grade team at this point in time?
Tallis Duncan would. What, in 17?
On the bench.
He'd get a bench spot.
Yeah.
He's become a really good player.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it's a really great point.
The sentiment of it is it's like, as in if you go through their spine and their back line, obviously Duncan's playing in the centres, even as a second row forward. Like, they're basically just having to run out a reserve grade side now each and every week.
Yep. It's just, I agree. I think for head-to-head players, Tubes, which we are coming to head-to-head finals, like, you definitely stack if you have the trades to do it. I think it's a great play.
Yeah. So who else went down? Ryan Gray gone, didn't he?
Ryan Gray gone, which means now Havili will have to play potentially hooker. And it's just like so much trouble. There was Lockie Hubner, the Hub Club. He also hurt his shoulder and just played through it. Like, who knows what the severity that's going to be. He looked pretty bad as well. So they're just gone. And it's going to be a big tactic to do that. From the Broncos' perspective, Tubes, we were very happy Reece Walsh vice captainers. I think I only brought him in this week. Did you also only purchase him this week, or did you already own him?
No, I owned him pre-buy for the last sort of run. I owned him pre-Origin, and then and then he got picked at 18th man.
That's right.
I didn't have him for the buy round.
Or Shiba, or Young GI.
Yeah.
134, a try, 4 try assists, 4 line assists, and a line break. He was actually only 0.8 purchased this week in that top 10%, which really surprised me. I thought more people who had Cleary in the flex and were moving him up with Jerome Hughes out, I thought he'd be a more popular target. Cheers, my big question to you is he still a target, or was this the week you had to do it?
I think this was the week, and then the vice captaincy was the double down.
Yeah.
They've got the Storm twice in the last month. I think that, don't get me wrong, I'm going to hold him. I think that he could definitely go well. But in the scheme of fullback trade-in targets, I think he's dropped back down. He'll drop back down the list after this juicy run against the Rabbitohs is done. He just doesn't have the ceiling. Like, he got 134, so it sounds weird. But
with 5 major attacking stats.
If he was a goal-kicking fullback like there is, or if there's others that just have more base, they're getting 170. In a game like this.
Yeah, agree. Pod outside backs, and you'll notice that the name Shibasaki is not on the list just of players I'm about to say. Katoni Staggs, 112. Dean Mariner, 102. Ezra Mam, 93. Reynolds, 92. Cobbo, 87. Is there anyone from that backline, Tubes, you think is relevant for the run home?
No, I think any could be, but I like the Broncos to me don't have the most standout draw for the run home. So I think you're sort of steering away. Staggs has looked unbelievable for maybe 10 weeks. I think since you might have brought him up, for the first time.
It was when he wore that all black jersey
Yeah.
against the Titans, which I think was maybe 6 or 7 games ago. He's looked phenomenal since then.
Yeah. And I think you put him up as an option to buy, and he definitely was, but I think he's now priced, nearly 600K. Like, I just don't think you're bringing in one of these at this time of the year. And we just talked about the bunnies. Like, you can't get too up and about after a game like that.
And as you mentioned, two games against Storm in their next 5. I've heard people talk about this Broncos draw because in between the Storm games, they go Storm next week, then they go Dolphins, Knights, Cowboys, which is a pretty juicy run. Then they finish with Storm. I've heard people going, and that'll be the Storm without all their players. Like, that's not set in stone. We can't guarantee that the Storm are going to rest their squad for that last game. If they do, fantastic. But I think there's just as good a chance they won't.
Yeah.
The last Broncos player to choose is Paddy Carrigan, who had 81 with an assist, 66 minutes. I mean, that's pretty standard for him. Like, he was probably looking at 60 without the assist. He got one this week. He's got a nice score. One of those guys who fine to own. I'm not regretting that I don't own Carrigan.
Yeah. He got that it was a junk time assist to Reece Walsh, actually, that got him up.
Titans versus the Panthers, which the Panthers won. I was so angry. I'm not even a Titans fan. I was so angry at a couple of moments watching this game. That your man Brian Tubes possibly should have been sin bin. If not, it should have been a penalty try. And that Panthers trainer running in front of the kicker, I genuinely think is one of the worst things I've seen in a footy field. Like, you cannot tell me. I'm not inside that guy's mind, but he knows what the rules are. He's used to running around that sideline, and he's run straight across and cut off JC. What did you think of it?
I just think, how's this not happened before? How's there not a rule that
because it hasn't happened before, I guess. Yeah, there probably will be now.
Campbell should just get a kick in front
100%.
Or something like that. Like, it's, again, as you say, can't say that we're in this guy's mind, but even if you were not an NRL trainer that had, I'm guessing, years of experience, you're not stupid enough to do that. Like, as in, you realising, I'm given water, they've taken a goal kick, I'm not just going to run straight at them and run past them. Like, it doesn't feel great. And I just love the reaction to it. He's apologised. Oh, well, there we go. That's good. That makes it all better. He said sorry. We should accept it. That's it. Move on.
Like, Tubes, you help out with your son's junior AFL team. If someone who was on the field helping ran in front of a kid as they're about to take a free kick in under-8s AFL, you'd be like, what are you doing, mate? This is the NRL. What about...
it hasn't happened there yet either, interestingly.
He's one of my older brother's mates. So the bloke's name's Corey Bocking is this Panthers trainer who my brother went to uni with because my brother's in the fitness industry over in London. And he's not I've met him a fair few times. He's not a bad bloke, Corey. But when I was a chubby young teenager, my brother was concerned about me being a chubby young teenager, and he organised for this Corey Bocking bloke to come round to our house and do a one-on-one personal training session with me. And he took me through a whole bunch of functional movement training things to help me lose weight and get fit. I don't think I ever did them again the second he walked out the door. So he made an impact on the Titans. He didn't make a lifelong impact on me, Corey Bocking.
Yeah, so maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe he's just he didn't make a change for you. Maybe I don't know what to think. I don't know what that story, how that puts it into perspective. But I like the link.
It is just funny because I didn't know. When I saw, I was like, I recognise that face, but I just thought I just recognised him for being an NRL trainer. It was only that Cracker messaged me. He's like, "What about that's Corey Bocking? It's BJ's mate." Pretty funny.
How funny.
From that game, let's talk about the actual Supercoach perspective. Enough about Corey Bocking. Nathan Cleary, 106 with 2 assists. He was 68% captained. Most purchase players, around 40% of Supercoaches in the top 10% brought him in. I actually feel, Tubes, you and I obviously looped, which meant we didn't captain Cleary. I actually felt we got away with it a little bit. I thought he was looking on for more.
Yeah, like we 100% got away with it. You got 106. What about Dan puts in the chat earlier? Like, oh, if it wasn't for that, if he didn't kick that field goal, he would have got 80. It's like, he was on 80 at half time. Like, we got away. They're up 24-0. Like, as in, of course, like, yeah, there's a world where he doesn't kick that field goal and gets 80. But the opposite world is he easily, it was so, I felt so nervous when it was so sunny up there. Thankfully, I was playing golf for that first half and I only really saw the second half. But sun out against the Titans, that easily could have been a 200 game. Like I'm happy as a non-captainer in that environment after him to get 106.
Yeah. Dylan Edwards, 78 with a try. That's the kind of game, again, like 2 weeks with scores similar with attacking stats. That's just where without that goal kicking now, it's going to reduce that ceiling. Blaze Talangi had a good game, 75 points with 2 tries and an assist. Isaiah Yeo, interesting one here, Chib. So he had 46 points. He only played 52 minutes. He hurt his shoulder early in the first half trying to score. He then played through it. Like, he got checked by the trainers, played through, got through to halftime, came back on for 12 minutes and then just came off. The commentators weren't talking about it, no real chatter, just came off. It looked like a normal sub and then never returned to the field. He's going for scans now. They're hoping it's a minor injury. Kind of looks like it could be a 1 to 2 week scenario if the scans come back as what they're expecting them to be. But yeah, very disappointing for that 8% of purchase this week. You don't need that.
No, and I did think it was regulation. Like, me and you were texting, we were a bit up and about because we called that he might be in for lower minutes.
I felt like a genius. We felt like geniuses.
But when the game was in the balance and he didn't come back onto the field, you knew it had to be an injury at that point in time. So, I suppose we'll just wait and see. It's an awkward one. It's like, if he is out for only 2 weeks, obviously you're probably going to hold. But bringing him in at 500K and then having to trade him out to another 500K guy, like that'd sting a lot at this time of the year. You
just hope that you don't have to trade him out, that they can cover that spot and place someone else there. Because, if he's back in 1 to 2 weeks, you just don't trade him. But I guess you're right. If he's out for longer term, people will have to eventually, I'd imagine. And that just sucks. What about Big Bad Brian To'o had 51 points with a line break. Tubes, watching him at the moment, I still don't think he looks 100%. Like, there's a couple of half opportunities he had where he just looked like he couldn't fully stretch out. I still think, with that being said, he's going to explode at some stage. For someone like me, Tubes, you've obviously watched him really closely as an owner now for the last few weeks. I already own Gagai. If I'm looking at a Herbie replacement, how do you think To'o measures up?
No, I couldn't recommend anyone brings him in. I don't even think it's the stretch out thing. Like, yes, I think that is he 100% fit? Probably not. He's still breaking tackles. He's still sort of doing that. He had a great line break on the weekend. Honestly, of his 51 points, I'd say 25, half of them came from one run where he just busted all these tackles and made a line break and looked like Brian To'o. Whatever's going on with the Panthers' attacking structure, they're just not going right. And when they do go right, he's got Isaac Tungo inside him, who you'd think would have learnt to just do simple drawing passes, but hasn't at this stage. And so I don't, I don't love him as a purchase. I own him. I do hope that he explodes at some stage. But yeah, it feels more than just him being a little bit injured. It feels circumstantial with the way the Panthers are attacking, and so I think I'd be steering clear if I didn't own him.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look, but I think you're probably right. But I just do think there's no way he's going to get through the rest of the year without scoring tries, without having at least 1 or 2 big games. Surely it has to happen. From the Titans side of things, your man, Tubes, AJ Brimson, a.k.a. Brimpod, 117 points with 2 assists, and he was at his explosive best, 22 points in tackle bust. He looked untouchable out there.
He was up and about, and I know we were talking earlier that there's this Kinney said he's back next week, so we'll
Yeah,
see what happens there.
That was on the watch along with Matt and the Rubdown boys. He kind of, one of the guys was like a Titans insider, was just a fan who'd like spoken to him, and Kinney said he's
Was it Chewy Simpkins that pops in sometimes?
It wasn't Tukey Simpkins. It was another guy who jumps in. I can't remember his name. Sorry to that guy. If he's listening to the show, reach out in the comments on YouTube. But he said he spoke to him, and Kinney says he's going to return to footy next week. Does that make you nervous?
A little bit. I hope it's not next week in first grade, and I wouldn't imagine that would be. He's coming off a pretty severe injury from memory. So, but Brimson and the Titans have the Bunnies next week. Brimson's going to be about 600 odd K. He has averaged 71 since going to fullback, which was back in round 10. So it's across 9 games. Even before this week of 117, he was averaging 66. I think the Titans, they're playing the style of football, at least they did in the second half, and they did, and they have been for a couple of weeks, that I really thought that they could at the beginning of the year. Jaden Campbell looking very good. I think Brimson could be a pod option for those trading Herbie as well, particularly with this Juicy Bunnies game coming up.
I don't think he would be if I see that Kinney's named in their like 22-man squad, because that to me would mean it's an indication that he's going to be back in soon. If Kinney's not named in their 22-man squad and he's just playing Q Cup, maybe. I like your call with the matchup, but I just want to see what's happening there first. I think Tubes Jaden Campbell is certainly still a buy. He's going to be available for around 610K. He had 117 with a try, 2 line breaks, and we thought Brimson was good with 22 points in tackle busts. Jaden Campbell had 30 points in tackle busts. He's now gone back-to-back, 100 against the Wars in New Zealand, and now against Penrith. Watch him next week, Tubes. He'll probably get 30 next week against Souths when we expect him to go huge. He's going to be a very popular captaincy option. He won't be able to be a VC next week because they play in the second last game of the round, 2 p.m. up in the Gold Coast. If it's a nice sunny Sunday afternoon, he's going to be pretty tempting with that C, isn't he?
Oh, geez, I didn't even know that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to figure out.
Yeah, because you feel better with him as a VC than a C, don't you?
He's a VC candidate for sure. And that last game is Eels Cowboys. So
yeah, unless you want Drinky, but even then, I don't think a lot of people are going to feel confident after his game today.
You've got to do Cleary as well. That's true. Cleary has to be a VC or C option. So yeah, I mean, we'll probably all VC Cleary, and then it won't matter after that anyway.
Maybe. All right, Tubes, let's get into our ready to explode players. Who have you got for us?
Oh, I felt like I was more prepared for this, but I'm not. But I've got Jackson Ford from the Warriors. His role has just been unbelievable recently. Like his minutes have been up. And he's available in second row forward and front row forward. He had 72 on the weekend in 64 minutes. But his last few games, he's effectively been going... this is where I had it up. Anyway,
I got it, Tubes, if you don't. It's gone. He went 74 last week and 62 and 65 the 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, so his last 4 games now, he's basically gone above 65 minutes. He's playing that complete middle role. And again, just with this Warriors draw that they've got coming up, and they're getting such good roll through the middle, he can be going off the hooker, but he can also be going off Aaron Clark. I just think that he's a really good option at the price of, sub 600K. For those that are looking to bring in a front row forward or second row forward, front row forward, particularly this week with Terrell May on the bye. I looked at him this week. I thought about him. If I didn't have the VC on, knowing that I was going to VC Reece Walsh, and just was happy to take the free loop with Haas being out. I think he's a really good option. I'd take him over, say, an Aaron Clark for that run home. I could easily see him getting some attacking upside. He's had attacking upside in the past, and I don't mind him in both either back row or front row.
Yeah, I like it, Tubes. And it's interesting you mentioned the Terrell May thing because I think there's a lot of people whose front row, as it currently stands, is going to be Terrell May, Payne Haas, and Tino for Suamalawi. Tino's obviously out. Terrell's out. Imagine if this Payne kind of sickness thing lingered and he's out as well. Like there could be people absolutely stuffed who have to make a trade. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it's within the realm of possibilities, as Matt would like to say. So I think he's a good one. He hasn't been spoken about too much, Jackson Ford. You're right. The role looks solid. Seems like it's set in stone. 74 minutes was maybe an outlier, but that kind of 62 to 65 minute range looks to be, pretty set in stone. I like it. My ready to explode player, Tubes, is someone that I am seriously considering bringing in this week as my Herbie Farnworth replacement. And it's Stephen Crichton at the Dogs. He today had 63 points with 2 assists. He actually had no points in goals today. He only made 1 and missed 2, so that didn't boost that score at all. The weather was absolutely atrocious. I can't remember seeing a muddier football field than the one they played on today. It looked like something you'd play on as kids when it was a bit wet. He was playing centre in defence, but very importantly, once they got up into that attacking red zone, he was playing fullback, mainly on that right edge, which, Tubes, you pointed out last week. Connor Tracy was pretty much a right edge specialist, and that's where Stephen Crichton was basing himself. So obviously he's a right centre, but when they got into their attacking zone, he was coming in and playing that sweeping fullback role, which is how we got those couple of assists. One of them was for a beautiful short ball to back rower Jacob Preston. A goal kicker who gets sweeping points in attack is a great purchase. Tracy's gone for the rest of the regular season. The downsides against him, Tubes, is the Dogs don't have the easiest of draws for the run home. They have the Wars next week, then the Roosters, and they go Storm, Panthers, Sharks. So their draw isn't easy. Do you think that Crichton's maybe immune to the draw? Possibly. What do you overall think of that kind of play on Crichton?
I think he's the perfect person to bring in for a Herbie. I really like him. I was watching today going, how wet it was. Like, it has to be a forgive game for the Bulldogs. But that role, as you say, is just, it's too good to pass up on. Like, I've really liked what I've seen in general from Crichton this year. Like, he looks, the strongest, fittest, most potently attacking player he's ever been. Like, he's always been, he's a really good defensive and a solid, player, but he's looked dangerous all year. In fleeting moments today, he looked dangerous. It was so wet. And it's obviously they've got to also click, and they've got to get that right with Kiraz being right centre in attack and then playing fullback in defence. But as you say, with the goal kicking and even the run, like, I'm not too fussed. I mean, they're the third. They're one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the comp, so their run is a little bit less concerning to me when given, as you said, he's basically a goal kicking fullback and he's a gun. So I think you pretty much want to get him into your team now.
He's an option. I'd get Gagai over him. I just already own Gagai. If I was someone, unless I was really looking to pot it up, because the masses are going to bring in Gagai this week. So I was looking to go against the grain. I think Crichton would be the best option against the grain.
Yeah. I mean, as all the things I just said about Crichton, Gagai is a goal-kicking fullback at the moment as well.
He's basier than Crichton too.
Yeah, Crichton, just the better team, so you'd sort of be backing in at them to put on more points. But who knows? I probably agree Gagai's probably a better option, but I do like the Crichton call.
The other thing, you mentioned the Dogs, and they're a good team, and like they're sitting third, but I think they've only won 1 game all year against top 8 teams, and they're going to go into a run where they're playing 4 of their next 5 games are against top 8 teams. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a good test for the Doggies. All right, let's get on to the second half of the action. Definitely less to talk about from this second half of games. You mentioned, Tubes, the weather. It was this next game onwards where all the games are in Sydney, and it was absolutely just pouring down. The Dragons versus the Raiders, which unfortunately the Dragons won. Dragons' perspective, LKT had 63 with an assist. That's nice if you didn't have to worry about him as an AE problem. From the Raiders, Matt Timokor, your man, Tubes, 109 with 2 tries. He's now gone back-to-back hundreds and hasn't scored under 50 since round 14. He's on a good run, looks fit.
Yeah, I looked at my team last year. I brought him in round 18 last year into my team. Didn't quite explode the way that he has this year.
You're a year too early.
I do think though, like I've always say Timoko, he's a very relevant super coach option when he's fully fit. He plays through a lot of injuries, I feel like. He's last year particularly he never looked fully fit and he has
didn't.
been looking very good. I think you've got in the notes he hasn't scored sub 50 since round 14 and he's looking as free as I've seen him. Raiders have a pretty good draw. I don't think he's necessarily a rest candidate. Geez, he'd be a pod. But yeah, I don't think anyone's bringing him in. But yeah, well done, Timoko.
If it wasn't for they do have a bye coming up too, which I think kind of effectively makes it a little bit harder to get Timoko as well. Choose. We almost need a Ricky roulette, like a spinny sound effect wheel, because we're about to talk some Ricky roulette news. Joe Tarpanay had 75 points, all in base plus power, and this was just Ricky roulette in full effect. Ricky made one substitution in the entire first half. So Tarpany has ended up with 67 minutes. It's his most of the year. This was slightly inflated. I think Adam Mariota had a HIA, so that brought Tarpany back on a little bit earlier. But still, he was probably in for 60 minutes. He actually hasn't played more than 60 minutes since round 10 this year. Is there any indication that, Tubes, this might be, Ricky's trying to get some more minutes into Tarpany before the finals, or is it just an outlier?
I mean, you
don't know. It's Ricky roulette.
What's an indication? I think I text you saying, Ricky likes vibing. He likes being on the sideline. He likes vibing. He likes getting a good feel and making decisions on the fly. And it was pouring rain. And so maybe that just made him not feel the vibe. So he just didn't know what to do. So he didn't make any substitutions in the first half. And he had to get back at halftime and think about it. I don't know. I can't work it out. But yeah, Tapney owners rejoiced given Haas was out and I'm sure many had to play him.
Yeah, and they'll have to play him again next week. So they're hoping that Ricky doesn't forgets how to make substitutions again for a half. Hudson Young, 46, 38 of that was all from tackles, just not his night. He was 10% purchased this week. You'd obviously be disappointed if you brought him in for a 46, but I'm pretty confident he'll bounce back and come good at some stage very, very soon.
Just too wet, which is the theme of the next few games.
Let's get on to the next two wet game. It was the Eagles versus the Roosters. This was a bit of a bludger of a game. Sammy Walker, 94 with 3 assists. So we'll note that he's averaging 73 in his 4 games since returning from injury. So well done to the 0.8% who looked at him as a pod. Angus Crichton, 67 with a try. Connor Watson, Tubes, I was a little bit alarmed when he was named off the bench. He's had 64 and 57 minutes, and the good news is it was confirmed that he had an illness, almost missed the game, which is why he had that bench role. So pretty happy with that. Tubes, from the couple of outside backs who are the two Roosters' most owned players, James Tedesco and Mark Nawangini-Tuasi, they both had 44 points. Teddy had a line break. Mark had 20 points coming in power stats alone, offloads and tackle busts. What are you making of these guys at the moment? Are you concerned?
Well, I mean, I'd be concerned if you own both with your score this week and how that's gone, depending who else you own. But it's so wet. That was just torrential. That you really couldn't do much. It's funny because Teddy normally goes a bit better in the wet. He gets so involved Sammy Walker's definitely impacted both of these guys. Sammy Walker's left side dominant. He's had 3 try assists. No surprise, Crichton scored 1. Tupu was involved in another, all down that left-hand side. And it means that Teddy is less dominant. Doesn't mean that he's not still getting the ball, but he's sort of less dominant and really involved in absolutely everything. And it's certainly affecting Mark on that right-hand edge. So, yeah, I'm concerned. I'm not concerned enough to probably make any trades or look at rage trading either of them.
Yeah, just Teddy I still think is a play every week. Marky, you have to start thinking of him as do I play him? What's the line? Because you'd say he's a matchups man. I would have had the Seagulls as a pretty decent matchup to play him in. It's just going to make him a little bit tricky. And I bet the week people don't play him is the week he goes big. Probably next week, because people will probably sit him next week.
Yeah, but like I said, it was so wet. You just can't, there's not much to take from this game, is sort of the thing.
From the Seagulls side of things, Ruben Garrick, really disappointing, 21 points, disallowed try. The main thing I want to unpack from this game, Tubes, is the Seagulls fullback situation. So Tommy Turbo, had 54 points with an assist, but very importantly, he actually moved to fullback midway through the game. So Lehigh, who was the fullback, ended up moving to the left wing. And Tommy had been in the attacking red zone, had been shifting to the left, playing fullback in the sweeping role, Lehigh going into the back line. But that just fully stopped. Turbo properly went back to fullback. Tubes, what are you making of this? Like, you're a Lehigh owner. Is there any chance that the left wing is a better spot for him than this weird fullback role?
It's 100% better. This fullback role has been a disaster for him, not just this week in the 21, but even prior to that. It was effectively affecting Lehigh, whose base still was pretty good at fullback. But whenever they got into the red zone, Tommy was sweeping from the right center over to the left and effectively taking more than 50% of sort of those sweep plays as a fullback anyway, which just causes, even when the Sea Eagles do score on a sweep play for a designated fullback, it wasn't Lehigh getting them. So I'd much rather they go back to a traditional now, Turbo at fullback, Lehigh on the wing, on the left wing, and hope that they, against their run of good matchups that they do have coming up when they play the Tigers, the Dolphins, and the Dragons, that they're firing. I think Turbo is now a very viable option. I know people bought him this week, but if he's confirmed to be back at fullback, he does look fully fit. Fitness doesn't look to be an issue. They've got the Raiders next week, but then those next 3 games I mentioned after that, that is a great run for Tom Trbojevic.
Yeah, I know Matt was kind of kicking himself this week because Matt looked at both Walsh and Turbo. He went with Turbo, and obviously on the surface of it, it's an 80-point swing. He's disappointed, as you would be. But if we're talking from next week onwards, Tommy properly back at fullback. Yeah, like you said, Raiders next week. But then, yeah, Tigers, Dolphins, Dragons, Warriors in the last round of the year. I'd love to own Tommy for that period. And I would, if I was buying a fullback right now, I'd massively pick Turbo over Walsh from next week onwards.
I'm thinking I'll be getting Turbo next week and I'll be holding Lehigh. So that's sort of my plan at this point in time. Probably won't play Lehigh against the Raiders, but I certainly will be hoping for a much better showing with Turbo at fullback.
And that also, with Garrick, he's going to be back at right centre. I think probably more people are going to discuss this than they need to, because I just don't really think it matters where Gary plays. He'll go about.
Even when you said that, I sort of just shrugged. I'm like, yeah, who cares?
He'll be fine either way.
Yeah.
Tigers versus the Dogs. Adam Dewey, 80 points with a try and an assist. They actually end up playing halfback. Latu Finu moved to the bench. One thing with Dewey, Tubes, did you see that breakaway try he scored? His pace is back, Dewey. Like at the start of the year, it looked like he couldn't run quick at all. When he kind of got that loose ball, I thought he was just going to get chopped down within 15 minutes. He actually accelerated away from him. So good on him. I kind of thought his career was in trouble. He's turned it around this last 5-6 weeks, being like a bit of a playmaker. Happy to see it.
Yeah. Contract, Dragons after him or something like that. So we'll see where he ends up next year.
Couldn't play him over Kyle. No way. You're not going to touch that?
I'll leave that. I'll leave that alone. Friend of the show.
And Big Terramay, 62 points in 67 minutes. From the Dogs, Tubes, you mentioned Jacob Preston scored a try for his 75. I actually think that this Stephen Crichton role where he's going to kind of sweeping out to the right is a really good thing for Preston. I think it makes that side very, very interesting. So I know you bought Preston last week and I'd be pretty happy with that. Jacob Kiddaz, interesting. There was a lot spoken about how the fullback role was going to impact him. He had 66 with a try. I am going to make the case, Tubes. I know it's a small sample size, really, really wet game, horrible conditions. If he's not getting those traditional sweeping plays, I think this new role is worse for him. It's in the same vein that it was worse for Lehigh, for the Seagulls over the last few weeks. I think playing fullback, I'd actually rather him not having the fullback carry off the first tackle, because I think he's less likely to get offloads, less likely to get tackle busts. I'd rather him having the second or third one of a set, and he's not really going to get those try assists, plus he probably scores less tries. I don't like it.
No, it's no good. Not especially in the centres, in that attacking red zone, the way that it looks like it's going to be compared to the right wing. I don't know if his base will be tremendously down. I know what you just said there. It does make sense that as you said, sample size 1 in the absolute wet. He's definitely going to be picked in everyone's 17 over the next week or two. But it will be worth watching to see how it goes. I do think that it will affect and it will drop his numbers if nothing changes.
I don't think it's going to massively drop his base, but I do think like he's less likely to offload. Like he's less likely to throw those offloads when there's no one really there in support of him and he's taking the first run of a set. Whereas if he's second or third, he's got guys behind and set and ready. That's all. But you're right, it won't have a huge impact on that particular aspect of his game. Final game around, Sharkies versus the Cowboys. Tubes, I'm sure you were happy to see the Sharkies just get a nice, comfortable win. Ronnie Mulatalo, 103 points with a double. Big Aden Fanua-Blake, 40% owned that top 10%, 87 points. He finally crossed over the line for a try. Was it off a Nico ball or was it Brayley?
Nico.
Nico?
Wide of the ruck, yeah.
Nice. 56 minutes, so minutes fairly solid there. I know we've mentioned Danny Boy a couple of times in this pod, who had a really good week, Danny Boy. He was filthy because he sat Fanua-Blake as part of his loop, but that's how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, who did he choose to play over him? Daniel Tupu. So
not a big
probably
difference.
Only cost him 20-something points, 30 points.
Yeah. Blake Brayley, 75 points with 2 try assists, one of those coming off a kick. Last couple of weeks, Brayley, like still kind of getting some attacking stats. The score's maybe not as big as what you would hope with some of the attack he's had over these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I thought today, again, I've said this so much, but it was so wet, so who knows? But I did think with those attacking stats and the Sharks were absolutely getting such a roll through that he might have had a fair few more runs. So, yeah, I mean, you're not complaining about 75, but from the tons that we were seeing and the fact that he's worth 700K now, you probably want a little bit more output as an owner.
I didn't look at SuperCoach scores. I had my phone up on the charge while I was watching this footy game, and he was one of actually all the next 3 guys we'll talk about. I was surprised at their scores in different ways. Like Brayley, when I looked at his score at the end of the game, I was surprised it was only 75. I thought it was going to be like 90 to 100. Nico, 66 with an assist and 24 points in goals. I thought he was going to be a little bit less. Like he just kind of seems to have one of those games. You mentioned our group chat, Tubes, which I only saw after, but like just ticked over SuperCoach points. And the most interesting to me, Britton Nikora, only 35 points. Watching that game, I thought he looked really dangerous a couple of times, almost made a couple of half breaks. I was absolutely shocked when I looked at his score and he was on 35.
Yeah. I think they just sort of have these games, like the Nico accumulation, 24 in goals, didn't miss one, I don't think. Or I think, did he? Yeah, whatever it was. It was a lot.
Didn't miss one.
Yeah. And then obviously an assist. I thought he was on 55 when I made that comment, and that was only at half time. So he's had a very low second half. Yeah, and Nikora just has these games, like as in he could easily next week, have the attacking upside where he actually gets line breaks and tries, but he definitely needs some attacking output for sure. From
the Cowboys' perspective, there's really nothing to talk about except for Scotty Drinkwater, or this week Scotty Junkwater, because thankfully he needed it, a late junk assist of a kick, which boosted his score up to 31 points. This is just another example in this growing sample size that when Jackson Purdue is 5'8", the Cowboys don't quite click an attack, and it really impacts Scotty Drinkwater.
Yeah, 100%. It's in a way, it makes me feel justified because I traded Scott. I felt like we identified that early after a 2-week sample size, and I traded Scotty Drinkwater after that. But then Peyton then also identified it and moved Purdue back to the centers. And obviously he went on a tear for a little bit after that. But yeah, with Duffy and Clifford going down, it'll be interesting to see. I haven't read anything about Clifford, how long he's actually out for. But like, do they even persist with it? Like, what's I don't know what other options they've got, but their attack just doesn't look good.
They had to play Jeremiah Nanai in the centres. Like, I think it was, if you're moving Nanai in the centres to get Purdue back to 5'8", I just don't think there's a lot of other options.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it certainly you're not trading him, like, unless,
no way.
Yeah, but it certainly doesn't fill you with confidence, and you're certainly not looking to captain or vice captain him if Purdue's at 5'8", just with the way that their attack looks with that structure.
Tubes, that brings our round review out to a close. Our final segment of the show, the Little Black Book. we are putting our little black books back in the pocket, aren't we, Tubes? The segment, we're retiring it for the rest of this year. Do you want to tell us more about why the little black book is gone for 2025?
Oh, I didn't know that. I had Ben Tulty as my little black book. Did you see the try he scored for the Broncos?
It was a great try.
No, I think you put it in the green room. You said we probably could have retired it when you brought up Ben Tulty as the little black book a few weeks ago. It's a great segment, great at the beginning of the year as you're sort of uncovering these potential options. But at the back end of the year, when trades are low, you're not really looking for the next up and comers and sort of the different role changes. So it's just become a bit more of a punish each week. And too much crossover with the ready to explode. I'd say I've given a little black book tip in my Jackson Ford sort of role analysis earlier. So, we'll double down there.
Yeah. All right. We'll bring it back out next year, or if someone really catches our eye, but it'd have to be something pretty special, like Ben Tulty levels of special. Tubes, that pretty much brings us out to a close. I know on the Tuesday show, I'm on this week with Maddie and a very special guest who I won't say just in case it doesn't happen, but there is going to be a fantastic guest on the Tuesday show if all goes to plan. We're also going to be doing a little bit of with head-to-head finals start next week. We are going to be doing a little bit of a head-to-head finals preview as well.
Am I meant to know who this guest is? I feel intrigued. I might have to listen to the Tuesday show this week.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. You have to wait and find out.
How good. Sorry, I didn't listen to the next part of it. I started looking up who's coming on the Tuesday show because I was too intrigued.
All I was saying is a bit of a head-to-head finals preview.
Yeah, gotcha. Head-to-head finals preview,
which is
in any of them.
completely irrelevant for you, but relevant to most of the audience, I think. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if we get any more news during the week. They sort of just drop, the final SuperCoach thing happening. But yeah, hopefully we get some more details coming out soon as well.
And more news to hopefully drop soon. You mentioned a bit of a tease of some things that are coming up on Baller. That's going to be on baller.live. So make sure you are signed up. I believe it's going to be some content that is exclusive to the people who signed up. So make sure we get in there, sign up. There's going to be some really good stuff coming. Tubes, you got anything else for us?
You beauty.